Ever feel like you have no choice but to fire your painters? I kept losing good painters, and it wasn't because they were bad, it was because I wasn't keeping them busy enough. So in this video, I'll show you how to keep your crews busy, and it's the same system we use to hit 71,000 a month consistently, even in the slow season. So to start, let me show you the first step to keeping your painters busy so you never feel forced to having to fire your painters again. Well, let me actually quickly tell you what happened. So throughout the year, not this one, but some year in the past, we were doing work, but sometimes busy, sometimes not. And Christmas was coming up and I hadn't prepared for the winter. So something unexpected happened. As I was sitting on my computer with my business partner, I realized that we had no jobs coming up for the rest of the month. I sat down quietly for a second thinking, what am I actually gonna do? Where am I gonna get jobs? Should I go door knocking, but it's cold, it's snowing? Is someone even gonna open the door? I didn't have no idea how to actually get painting projects on the winter. And I noticed that it was December, January, and February with no jobs at all. So that's when it kicked in. Something had to change. Because that month, me and my business partner, which is my brother, we had to go with the painters, have an uncomfortable conversation where, hey man, we have no jobs for December. I'm sorry, you won't get a paycheck. They accepted it, of course. I mean, what other choice did they have? But they were really disappointed that they were even considering leaving to another company, someone who was gonna keep them busy. In that moment, I realized that I had to change something, and that had to be what I was doing to actually get painting projects. Because what I was doing before clearly was not working. It was working some months not. It's not predictable. And if I wanted to keep high tier painters, people that I could trust just living on the site by themselves the whole day and know that the project is gonna get done, then I just had to change my method. And once I did that, because I experienced that bad experience, I never had to worry about not having jobs anymore because I developed a system that constantly kept me busy month after month. But how do you actually do that? Well, step one, you want to build more channels. So, what do I mean by this? You want to start doing not just marketing, online marketing. You want to have door knocking. You want to have flyers. You want to make sure that you have a referral system that not only makes homeowners want to refer you whenever they want to, but because you give them an incentive to do it. Having all these channels will allow you to not have any gaps during the slow season, because if you don't have jobs, for example, in the winter, you can run online marketing, get some interiors cabinet projects. Now, if you have a referral system as well, you can message them, give them an offer they can't refuse to refer you to their friends and family. That works as well. But having different options, different channels helps you never have a slow season, because whenever one doesn't work, you can make the other one work. Step two, once you concentrate on different channels that you can work in, just grab two per time. So what do I mean by this? You don't want to start grabbing 7 systems and trying to maximize all of them, because you won't be effective on it. There's so much a human can do. So what you want to do is nail down 1 to 2 channels during the next 3 months. So let me give you an example. If you want to start running online paid ads, that's gonna take you some time to master. So you should focus on that while doing some door knocking on the side, so you can get some painting projects while you're door knocking and trying the online paid ads. You see how that works? Another thing you could do, you start testing different referral offers that you can send to your previous customers to make them refer you, while at the same time you're cold calling to build connections with different companies, landscapers, real estate agents, realtors, roofers. There's so many options that you could do, but make sure you nail down 2 at a time for the next 3 months, and then once you nail them down, you can move to 2 more. But if you haven't, just keep the same 2, because it's great to say I have different channels that get me projects, But if they're not even working, what's the point, right? You see what I mean by that? What you want to do is making sure that two channels work consistently. And just by doing that, you're going to have jobs consistently. Because with online paid ads, you can scale that. And it's really rare for you to cap your whole market when running paid ads. It just doesn't happen. Same with door knocking. How many doors do you see every single day in your city? There's probably thousands, if not millions of homes. And so, do you really feel that you knocking neighborhoods, you're going to cap it out? The answer is, even if you were to hire door knockers, it's impossible for you to cap out your market. Step 3, you want to do more of it. Once you start doing online paid ads, once you start doing door knocking, once you start doing cold calling to build connections, any of these methods, once you start see that it works, don't stop. Do more of it. Do more door knocking. Do more online paid ads. Do more cold calling if that's what worked for you. What you don't want to do is get comfortable and stop doing what works. Now let's move on to the second step so you can grow your painting business faster. So imagine for a second that you have a pipeline of water. So water is flowing like this. It has its hose. It starts right here, releases water, and the first part of the pipe gets the water correctly. And it's as it's flowing, the different parts of it is holding the water. Throughout the system right here, it's broken and the water is flowing down. So basically, you don't even make any of the water throughout the whole pipeline. It doesn't even go through there because there's a big hole right here breaking through it. In that scenario, would you think that the solution is getting more water in, or would it be to fix the broken part right here that's leaking the water? Well, if you're a smart cookie, you probably know that the right answer is to fix the broken part of the pipeline. And the reason I'm telling you this is because most painting businesses think all they need is more leads, but they couldn't be more wrong because most of them have a less than 20% closing rate. Sometimes if they're lucky, they have 30% closing rate, charging low prices. So what do I mean by that? They're not even taking 50 to 60% profit margins. And so they believe that getting more leads is going to help them grow their business, but in reality it won't, because the same amount of work, imagine for a second that you have 5 leads and you close one of them because that's a 20% closing rate. And you charge 5,000, but you barely get to keep 20% of those 5,000 because you have to pay labor, your people, all those expensive licenses. You barely take 20%. And imagine for a second you could only do 4 projects during that whole month. To keep this short and simple, you probably make 20,000 a month. But in reality, you're taking 20% of that. That leaves you with $4,000 take home. You're doing all that work just to take $4,000. 20,000 revenue sounds nice, but just taking 4,000, that's the reality of most painting businesses. And they think that getting more quality leads and hiring more painters, they can double that 40,000. That's still just $8,000 take home. That's barely anything for the amount of work that you're doing. Instead, let me offer you a new perspective. Imagine that instead you're doing the same 4 projects a month, but instead of charging 5,000, you double your prices and now you're charging 10,000. So just by doing that, now instead of doing 20,000 a month, you're doing 40,000 in revenue and you take home $8,000. You see how that works? There's no need for you to do more work when you're not charging enough. What you want to do instead is do the same amount of work, increase your prices, and just by doing that, you're growing your painting business. Do you see how that works? Because that's the trap most painting businesses experience. They think it's just about more leads, more quality leads, but those leads turn out to be the same thing. They don't close them at higher prices, and then they think there's something wrong with the lead. But no, it simply means you haven't given them enough reason for them to pay you more. So, how do you actually charge more so you can grow your painting business without having to do more work then? So step 1, you want to create a proven script. What is a proven script? It's a script that you have tried on homeowners and they have bought because you followed the script. If you don't have that and you're just emailing quotes, You're losing out on a lot of money. Because most homeowners, let me ask you this, are they themselves gonna say, let me sell me on why I should pick ABC Painting? Are they actually gonna do that? Or you think they're gonna say, let me find another cheaper quote, and if I don't see a difference, I might just pick the cheaper quote? If you're smart, you're gonna know that they're probably gonna do that. They're gonna look for a cheaper quote. And let me ask you this, can you beat on price? Most of the time it's gonna be no, because there's painters that don't have licenses. They're willing to do it for a couple bucks and a couple beers. How are you actually going to build a predictable business when you're competing with these people who are willing to do it for a couple bucks and a beer? Well, the truth is you can't. So having a proven script that you give in person, not by email, but in person, positions you different than every single other painter, and you have higher chance of getting the job. Step 2, you always want to practice the script. What do I mean by this? Without practice, you can't perfect anything. And so, you not knowing your own script, there's no way that you yourself or anybody else can do what you're saying you can do in that script. It has to be repeatable, and it has to be able to be transferred to somebody else. If you cannot follow your own script, then that's trouble if you ever try to hire like an estimator, because they won't know what to do. So make sure that you're practicing that script, you nail it down step by step, and once you do that, you can transfer it to an estimator if you're looking to scale further than that. Step 3, realize that the script is not going to be perfect. You're going to find that sometimes you ask certain questions. You maybe asked for the sale too soon. You maybe didn't handle the objection. That's fine. The whole point of having a script is a baseline to start, but then you want to be adapting the script as you go to make sense in your industry and your city. Because let me ask you this, do you know anybody who was born magically as a perfect salesperson? Do you know anybody like that? Or was it a skill they developed slowly over time? I know that you're a smart person and you know that it's a skill that you develop over time, just like painting. When you learn how to grow your business, it's a skill you develop over time. You're not like those people who think, oh, it's because they're lucky, oh, they're born salespeople. You're different. You understand that. So make sure that you're adapting your script and you don't take it personal when you don't close on the spot. It's part of the game. Analyze what happened, change it to make sure that it doesn't happen again, practice it again, and then if you could do it, eventually you can outsource to an estimator. Now, there's one last step you need if you actually want to keep your painters busy. So just watch this for a second. So imagine for a second that there's two type of people. The first one, he's the type of person who tells you what to do, but he's not willing to do it himself. And the second one is the person that tells you what to do and he's doing it himself and you see it happening. So you want to say, I want to stand up because he's showing, he's not just telling. Why am I telling you this? If you're going to keep painters, you have to learn leadership. And being a leader, in simple terms, just simply means that you do the walk, not just the talk. So how do you actually maintain painters with leadership, you might be asking? Well, step 1, and it should probably just be one of the most important ones, make sure you show up every day and you show the example of what your painter should do. So let me give you an example. If you want them to be respectful with homeowners because you're going to lead them on the job site, then show that you're respectful with the homeowners. You cannot get mad at the homeowners even if they're tough or they're annoying in front of your painters. You have to show the example. Step 2, you want to be kind with others, strict on yourself. What do I mean by this? If your painters slip up, that's fine. Don't get too angry with them. Make sure you help them. Hey, I know you messed up here. Can you try doing it this way next time? Yes, I will do it next time this way. Okay, sounds good. I know you got this. Being kind, not being like, fuck, you fucked up, man. What are you doing? You're fired. You're not going to keep anybody that way. You want to be kind with others. Of course, keep them at their standards, but being kind. While with you, if you slip up, you want to be strict. Fuck, I fucked up. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again. So being kind with others, being strict with yourself. And step 3, get to know your painters. So that's one mistake that I personally did. I didn't get to know my painters for a long time. It was just a transactional. Okay, you do the work. Once I get paid, I pay you. They got paid good, so of course they stayed, but it was more transactional. Eventually, I decided to change that. I sat down, I invited them to dinner. I started to get them to know them outside of work. What were their goals? What were their ambitions? How was their families? Get to know them more. And once you build a connection with someone, it's harder for them to want to quit and go to a new company when they already like you, they're getting paid well, and they feel comfortable where you are when they're with you. So always make sure that you're building trust and connection. Get to know them outside of work. Spend some time. It's a weekend, maybe 1 or 2 days. That's fine. Get to know them, because at the end of the day, something that changed my life is sometimes the people that you work with, it's gonna be people that you spend more time with, even if it's more than your family. That's the crazy part. So why are we not gonna build a connection with them? Now, there's one last thing that if you miss, you're not going to grow your painting business, because we didn't go in depth right here. So watch this video next, where I break down my full sales script that has been proven to grow your painting business. Watch that one. I break down the whole sales script that you can use as a baseline, so then you can be adapting it so you can close more, higher your prices, and for the same amount of work, even double your business. So watch that right here. It's someone right here. Go click it. My name is Carlos. Take care. Bye-bye.